Hello there, welcome to Family First Solicitors YouTube channel. This is a broadcast today about after the C1A, what next? If you're watching this, you probably already know what a C1A is. It is the form that you need to fill in for court family proceedings about domestic abuse. Once you've filled it in, it's quite daunting to think, well, what happens with this form now? And what do I do to make sure that what I've put in it is taken account of and listened to by the various powers that be? So hopefully this is a quick rerun about that, just to save you some time and to give you some sort of a roadmap as to what you can expect with this form. My name's Ursula Rice. I work at Family First Solicitors, and thanks for tuning into the channel. Don't forget, if you subscribe, then the next time I do an update, and I'm doing a little series at the moment of domestic abuse and Children Act matters, you will be notified. So press the subscribe, press like. Thank you very much. Right, so the first thing after the C1A is done is that you will have sent it off to the court. If you send it off to the court, they will stamp it and they will send it to your ex. They will send you a stamped copy and they will send a copy to Cafcass. Who are Cafcass? They're the court advisory family service. They're the service that help the court with the sort of social work on the ground that's necessary so courts can make decisions. Cafcass officers are usually highly qualified, very experienced social workers. Right, so Cafcass get a look at your C1A, and when they read it, what they're going to do is they're going to think to themselves, this person has decided that the relationship they were in was abusive. And of course, abuse can cover many things. So don't forget, Cafcass are going to be calling you, contacting you in order to have a chat with you. Often it's between 45 minutes to an hour. It can be quite a long chat. That's the feedback I get anyway from my clients. And they will ask you about what you've put in the C1A. So my advice to you is you get ready by practicing on the cat or on the dog or on anybody who will listen in giving a bite-sized version of what happened to you and why you've put it in the C1A, and try to explain, well, these are the things that happened. They don't need like the big emotional story. They're really interested in what has happened, okay? So try and get used to explaining to people what your C1A is about. Okay, so when Cafcass has had a look at it, they're going to speak to you about it, speak to the other side about it. And if they have a sense that there's something in this, they'll be putting it in their safeguarding letter. That letter is sent to the court before the first hearing. Now, at the first hearing, what can you expect? Now, the first thing you need to know is that there is some law. There's a piece of somebody's ringing me on my Teams. Brilliant. Sorry, can't call you back, mate. There's a piece of law called Practice Direction 12J, and Practice Direction 12J, which I'll put the link below this broadcast. Practice Direction 12J is in the Family Procedure Rules 2010. And if you Google it, it will come up. I'm just going to have a quick look at it, just to remind myself of the useful bits. The first bit I would say for anybody having a look at it is to have a look at section 2A particularly, which includes the definition of domestic abuse, which can be really helpful if you're just starting out on your sort of journey through and out of the other side of abusive behavior. So the behavior is abusive if it's physical or sexual abuse, violent or threatening behavior, controlling or coercive behavior, economic abuse, see subsection 4, psychological, emotional, or other abuse. And it doesn't matter if it's one incident or a course of conduct. So lots of little incidents all linked together. And economic abuse, and this is a new addition, by the way, is where any behavior that has a substantial adverse effect on your ability to acquire, use, or maintain money or other property, or obtain goods or services. Now, obviously, that's things like controlling what you buy, maybe not just by having the access to your bank account, but by telling you over and over again, you're not allowed this, you're not allowed that, or pressuring you into not getting things that you need for you or for your child. So Practice Direction 12J is a great place to look. It's one of the places that domestic abuse is defined. But if we scroll down, so there's various important things, including the fact that it relates to children. That is, children who are seeing or hearing any of this, it's abusive to them as well. Now, if we go down to section 16 and 17 of this rule, so this is practice direction 12J, so let's find 16 and 17. 16 and 17 set out that the court needs to look at the abuse that you've told them about, and maybe Cafcass have an opinion on in their safeguarding letter. And the court needs to decide, how do we take account of what we're being told? Do we need to have a separate hearing, which is called a fact-finding hearing, just to decide what happened? So what happened, meaning on the balance of probabilities, which is the standard of proof, the burden of proof is on the person making the allegation. So on the standard of the civil standard, on the balance of probabilities, do we think it more likely or not that this did happen, or that this did not happen, or do we think something slightly different happened? Now that is a decision for a court, not a Cafcass officer or for you. It's something a court decides. So what really helps a court is if they know what is it, if we can break down what are the issues that somebody says did or didn't happen. Now, just because you don't have a don't have a fact-find hearing ordered by the court, that doesn't mean to say that they cannot, it's locked out deciding that there was abusive behaviour. Practice direction is very specific about that, and the court can decide they need a separate fact-find decision-making case, but it doesn't have to. And often I would say that the reason fact findings are decided they're useful is because the what happened is so massive. There's so much work to be done to get evidence and to find out who said what and when, and to really break it down. That what's really necessary is very specific, focused court time to decide that. Sometimes, if the abusive behaviour follows a less intense pattern, say it is still abusive, but it's something that can be managed in a different way, a court might say, well, we know fact-finding hearings cause delay because you're having like a hearing within the greater welfare decision-making hearing. You're having a hearing first for the fact-find, then you wait a few months to have your final hearing about the children, just to work out what to do. So in itself, it's not always good having a fact-find. Sometimes courts say, we can concertina the what happened and are we worried about it, together with more broad welfare issues, and we'll just do it all in the one welfare hearing. So sometimes just having a welfare hearing is okay. So I wouldn't panic if you don't get a fact find. I think what's important is that if you are saying that an abusive behaviour occurred in your relationship, you're clear you're saying it, and you don't step back from saying it. You know what you know, you say what you say, I'll work with whoever wants to know more, but this is what happened. You decide how you are going to find out about it and take account of it and weave it into your eventual decision making as a tribunal with regards to what the right decision is for this child. So at the first hearing, you might be asked, if there is going to be a fact-finding hearing set down, you might be asked to do something called a Scott schedule. Now, a Scott schedule is a table, so the best way of describing it is a table which sets out what happened and when it happened, and it like identifies the activity that took place that you say is abusive. Usually the Scott schedule is in a table, and it's got a list of, these are all the things I say happened and when they happened, and often there's a box, a column next to it that says, and it is in this part of my evidence, like paragraph 3 of my first witness statement, where I say it happened. The reason that's in there is so that when somebody says, right, let's decide allegation 3, everybody's able to look for the evidence really quickly. Oh yeah, she said it was in that 10th paragraph. That's where she sets it out. Oh yeah, she also says it also happened at page 200 of the bundle, which is where the medical evidence is. Oh yeah, and there's another reference in it to that other witness statement of Joe Bloggs, who says he heard some of it. So all the bits where that allegation happens, really easy to find. There's often a further column, which is the response from the alleged perpetrator, who may say, well, that didn't happen like that. And actually, you're just projecting, because frankly, you're saying I did it. Actually, it was you doing it to me. And I say that you can find my evidence in another column, here, 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 and here. And then there's a final column, which is where the judge often says, this happened, or this didn't happen, or this happened in a different way. So a Scott schedule can often be a table where everybody says, this is what happened, this is where I say it is in my evidence, this is the response, this is where the respondent says his evidence lies, and finally, this is what the judge says. So that's what a Scott schedule looks like. It can be quite tricky to put together, and I have to be honest, if I was going to throw some money at lawyers, I might ask them to help me with my Scott schedule, because and necessarily that probably means with your statement as well, your statement of evidence. Finally, just as a last word, you will sometimes hear it said, and it might be chucked at you, that sometimes the violence or the abuse is a bit historical. What you need to say is historical abuse matters unless the alleged perpetrator says they've changed and they can evidence why they say they've changed. And the reason historical evidence matters is because, short version, leopards don't change their spots. If you want a case reference for that, there is a recent case called H&N, which I'm now very quickly going to Google, which I seriously should have done previous to that. Domestic abuse, re H&N and others, brackets, children, neutral citation number 2021 EWCA Civil 448. So yeah, if you type in re H-N and others, domestic abuse, you'll get to the case. That case was really interesting. It said Scott schedules are not always helpful. They can be, but not always. Historical abuse matters, and coercive control is really important. And that's where Scott schedules are not very useful. They don't often evidence well coercive control. Coercive control is a pattern of behavior. And if we start limiting the pattern to only 5 instances, you probably won't be able to see the pattern. It also went on to say that one of the greatest harms for children is that children who witness abuse will inculcate, that is, they will internalize and start to pattern abusive behavior onwards when they are adults. It makes kids think normalize really abusive patterns of behavior. So I hope that helps. This is, I mean, obviously this is not legal advice. There's a bit of information. We run a live Q&A clinic on Facebook. If you just go on Facebook and look for Family First Solicitors and tune in every Thursday, 8 till 9 o'clock. It's free. We use code names to give people their advice. There's loads on the Facebook page. If you just watch one of them, you'll get the hang of it. And please don't forget to like, subscribe. If for any reason you think you need legal advice, well, we do a first interview, which costs £60 and takes as long as it takes. Probably won't be me that sees you, because there's a lot of staff at Family First Solicitors and we all take turns, but we're more than happy to book an appointment with you and just take a look-see at your issue, whatever's going on. We can act for you wherever you are. We do things remotely or face-to-face, whatever you want. If you want to trek down to where we are, we're in the middle of Oxford, that's absolutely fine. If you just want to do it remote, that's fine too. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this content, and I'll be creating more very, very soon. Thank you.